Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are, to the Space Game Junkie Podcast, my friends. I, as always, am your co-host, Brian, and sadly, Jim cannot join us this morning because it's an early show and he's at work. But we do have a guest co-host joining us from Hamburg, Germany, a friend of the site and the show, and our resident space engineers expert, Alex Shaquille. Welcome, Alex.
Good morning.
It's afternoon for you, but yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm with you Americans on that.
Yeah, it is 6 a.m. in the morning here in Los Angeles, but that's because our guests are in. Yeah, you guys are in Prague, in the Czech Republic, which I hear is a lovely town. Never been. I've seen a lot of pictures though. Joining us from the folks at Keen Software House, we have CEO, CTO, and founder Merrick Rosa.
Hello, guys.
Good morning. And we also have community manager and media producer Joel Wilcox, also known as Zockley.
Hi, guys. Hello.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. The sad thing about this is the guy who, my co-host Hunter, is the one who really wanted to have you guys on the show, and he couldn't be here. So I just wanted to throw that out. Hi, Hunter. Sorry you couldn't be here. Because he loves your game almost as much as Alex does.
Definitely.
Cool. And yes, we are calling from Prague. That's what I forgot to say. Yeah, we are calling from Prague here in Czech Republic. And it's a nice place. It is. I recommend anyone visit.
Yeah, I've looked at some pictures because I was like, I've seen pictures randomly throughout the years, but I just looked some up on Google, and it's really kind of gorgeous in that like older European style, you know. So it's kind of nice. Now you've been with the company for about a little more than a year, Joel.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, just over a year now. Actually, no more than that. Actually, maybe it's coming up to a year and 6 months. It's only time flies, actually. Yeah. So it's been great, though. It's been really great.
That is awesome. So, folks, we're here to talk about space engineers. If for some reason, I don't know how you don't know what space engineers are if you're listening to this podcast, but just in case you don't know what space engineers is, it is a space shoot 'em, build 'em, fly 'em, run 'em. It's a encompassing sandbox thing where you can not only futz around on planets, but you can build ships, space stations, all kinds of malarkey. And it's been in early access for a little more than 3 years.
Yeah, something like that.
So
I October 2013. So.
Oh yeah, something like that.
Over 3 years now. Yeah,
a little over 3 years. So I was curious about that because we talked to a lot of developers on the show, and a lot of them use early access, and some refuse to. Because we've come to learn it's a double-edged sword in a lot of ways, because especially over a lengthy period like this game has, it's managing expectations is so important. Like some people expect a full game when early access starts, and some people, because it's like blurred the lines now between alpha and beta and all that. And you guys just hit technically quote unquote beta recently. And I was kind of glad you guys made that distinction, because I think a lot of people have forgotten what beta actually is. You know?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to ask you how generally how has early access been treating you guys in terms of the community, in terms of expectations, that sort of thing.
There has been some ups and downs, and I would say it's a lot tougher than if you would be developing the game behind closed doors. That's definitely true. On the other side, there are also some advantages of being in early access. Like first is you can get the funding. Second, you get to meet with the reality. You know, like so you can actually learn about what your players want and don't want, and all these things. You can learn it frequently and so on. But of course, it requires you to have some kind of resistance or like some kind of tough skin to some of the things. And so, yeah, it's the process that we choose. And maybe it would be also fun sometime in the future to develop a game behind closed doors, and like really polish it until you are satisfied and then release. But that's a different thing. And
it's risky in the sense that you don't know 100% what the people are going to say about it. Whereas when it's in early access, because it's from the start almost, the community and the fans in a way shape the game and the direction it goes in more so than when behind closed doors, which again is a double-edged sword, I guess.
Yeah. On the other side, as I said, like you are learning constantly about how people react to this or that. And then that gives you more experience once the game gets finished and released. And then basically, if the game still continues, it's in some kind of development, it's still some kind of early access, like it's still being watched by people, criticized by people. So it's better to get to this stage after you already learn how to survive in this kind of environment. So I think it's okay. Like, of course, what is important is when you are releasing early access game, is that even the first release of the game will show something, let's say something new or something that other games don't have. And it should show it in a way that's really useful, or like where players are actually able to play with it, experience with it. So, for example, when we are designing Space Engineers for early access, we were thinking or considering like different features that should go first in the game. And we are like, let's just like hypothetical scenario. Imagine that first, if we focused on I don't know, like multiplayer, or if we focus on actual engineering aspects that are in the game. And if you release a game that would have only multiplayer and no engineering, then it would not make sense, because the first prototype of the game would not bring anything new to the market. On the other side, if you neglect multiplayer and focus only on engineering, which other games didn't have, then you can actually bring something new, and that's what is important. So I think you need to have some like minimum viable prototype of your game, and this minimum viable prototype should show something that's unique for your game, and then you should keep with this, and then start adding less important features later, and so on. And regarding managing the expectations, what we tried to do for a long time was to not talk about planned features, changes, or something like this, because if you are unsure if you will deliver this feature or not this feature, not because you cannot, but maybe you will realize that you actually don't want that feature in the game. It's better if you are not talking about these things, because people will get some expectations, and there will be like you will fail, and they will be unhappy, and so on. So this is something that we also try to do, and it's good to have the community as some kind of compass which tells you if you are doing a good job or not doing a good job. But I wouldn't say that we are doing only what community tells us. I would like really say that have the community as a compass of good work or bad work.
That's nice, because that actually kind of was going to be my next question, because I've sadly seen some developers like listen to the community a little too much and kind of change direction of their game based on the community rather than sticking to their original vision, which always makes me sad, because it's your game. You gotta stick to what you wanted to do in the first place. So has that ever been a temptation to change direction based on the community? Because it sounds like it hasn't, but I just wanted to throw that out there and ask you, like, if it hasn't, how do you resist that?
Yeah, this is a good question. I mean, our vision for the game changed on our side, or not like really changed. I would say like we just added some more details or some more ideas, but I still consider those ideas to be compatible with the original vision, or just like more enhancements or additions. Like, for example, when we were designing the game, the original vision didn't count with planets, or didn't count with, I don't know, like oxygen, for example, and things like that. And then later, we thought that they can be cool features. They can actually like expand the possibilities that you can do in the game. It wasn't against the original vision. So it wasn't like changing the curves of Space Engineers from engineering game to, let's say, Football Manager. That would be crazy. But this was more like just some little additions and so on. And on the other side, what I think is also very important, and this needs some kind of experience on the side of the developers, is to like keep the amount of features and changes and all these things to a level that you are certain you can manage. Like not to try adding one feature after another feature or adding unfinished features to a level that it's just like really hard to put it all together and finish the game. So this is, I think, another problem that can happen in the development. You know, like when you will get on this feature. I don't know how it's called. I forgot, but it's like feature craziness or something like this.
Feature creep.
Feature creep, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's also good to resist this kind of thing, and focus really on the like relevant key features for the game.
So it's not only about. Sorry, go ahead.
So I think the vision for the game didn't change. It's still what it was supposed to be. It's just like slightly more, I don't like, polished or improved or slightly more features in some areas where I wasn't really expecting in the original vision. And yeah, that's it. And also, it would be hard to change the course of the game because not just we have some vision for the game, but also our current community has some vision for the game. And it's like if they purchase some game and then we suddenly change it to something totally different, they will also be upset. So we also need to take this into our mind. But as for space engineers, I think it's still keeping the vision and everything. Yeah.
So it's not only about managing player expectations, but managing your own and what you can accomplish.
Yes, exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Might I
Sorry,
jump
sorry.
in just
Go ahead.
quickly? What was like your original vision for the game before? You know,
That
like
was
when
going to be
you
my
first
question.
conceptualized it. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's great. No, that's great.
Before you had any contact to the community, what was your vision alone?
To make a game where you build spaceships, space stations, there is some realistic physics, volumetricity, and something like you are changing the environment and the creations around you, and you are doing these changes in the 3D environment around you, not in some menus or some diagrams or something like this, but actually really in the environment. Just like when you are playing with Lego, like Lego toy or Lego box, you're also using your hands to change something in 3D environment around you, and you can feel it like your entire brain was evolved for like understanding the 3D environment. So I wanted to have the same kind of feeling that when I'm changing something or like designing, building something in Space Engineers, that I'm doing those changes like on those particular 3D locations, and I feel the volumetricity of what I'm doing. Like I didn't want to make a game where you just change some property of a spaceship some big property of a spaceship in some scroll bar or something like that. Like like when you have a ship, there is a cargo container, there should be some thruster, there should be some gyro and all these things. And I didn't want these things that I just mentioned to be just some abstract properties of some abstract spaceship and blah, blah, blah. Like this was the thing that basically what you see in the game, what you perceive that is in the game around you should be there, and it should have that functionality that you would intuitively expect that thing to have. This was the vision, like to really create some kind of sandbox where you interact and you feel the environment just like you feel it in the real world.
Yeah, and to me, it's like, I mean, at least in my perception, that you guys were one of the first games who did that stuff. I mean, nowadays you have many competitors, I guess, who kind of copied you. At least in my perception, you were kind of first with that idea.
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, they really were. But now you have at least half a dozen games like that. But yeah, they were like really the first on the scene with this open sandbox building thing, as far as I can remember. We do have a question from the chat. Sir Hamster a lot, okay, asks if there's any kind of progression plan for space engineers. I'm not sure if he means. I'm thinking he means in game. I think. I hope.
I really cannot comment on these planned features right now. Because we need to keep some of the things quiet or talk on the things that are actually finished or close to finish. So, yeah, I'm sorry, I cannot talk about that.
It kind of goes into what you were just saying about how you can talk about certain things, but you also got to manage expectations and not only talk about things you're ready to talk about, which makes sense. Look at that other game that talks about all these things they want to do, and then things don't happen. And
the other game.
Yeah, that other game, that other big space sandbox game that I don't want to mention. So I kind of want to go back to the beginning real quick and talk about the history of the project. How did Space Engineers, what was the impetus for it, and how did it get started, and what launched it off the ground?
So right before we started working on Space Engineers, we finished Minor Wars 2081, and we kept maintaining or bug fixing the game for a couple of months, and then we moved on a new project, and we were thinking what should that be, and it was still coming back to this very old vision that I had about a game that will be like a Lego, where you will be building things and it will be physical and it will be about engineering and physics and stuff like that. So we are thinking, how can we use our existing experiences with this kind of stuff, and how to build it, and what is also the shortest path to achieve something like this, and where our strengths and weaknesses and so on. And we spent some time thinking about this, but it was quite short. And then we set ourselves a deadline. It was only 7 months. And we said okay, in 7 months, we must release first prototype or first viable prototype of Space Engineers on Steam and see how people react to this, if they like it or not, and so on. And during these 7 months, the team was very small. It was 2, and then later there was a third programmer, there was one artist and one designer. And so it was a really small team, and I think this was very good because it was easy to manage and it was easy to design and everything. So we, during these 7 months, we solved some of the physical problems that were in front of us, like for example, these destructible ships and building on the grid system and having everything dynamic and so on. We also made the concept for the game, how the blocks would look like made the decisions that, okay, that there should be 2.5 meter block, there should be the small blocks, the astronaut should have this height, the astronaut should have jetpack, otherwise you will get stuck sometimes, there should be this tool, that tool, and we made all these little design decisions. We're always thinking about how that will impact our roadmap in the future. We didn't want to create something that will be like a block for us, like a blocking thing for us in a year or so. And then we made one prototype after another prototype until we get to what we released on Steam Early Access. And then we just kept doing weekly updates, because actually one of the reasons for these weekly updates was, actually there are a few reasons, but one of them was that we were afraid that if we will not be doing weekly updates, people will lose interest. So we just kept doing the updates. Another was that because we really very well understood the design of our game and also the programming part of our game, it was quite easy for us to come up with new features that we could manage to actually implement and test in a short period of time. And it was a lot of fun. We became some kind of update junkies, that we really wanted to make an update and get the instant gratification from the community, and like people saying that, yeah, you're cool and blah, blah. So, and we kept doing this. So if like I have to sum this up again, there was couple months after we finished Minor Wars for some like basic thinking about what should we do with our lives next. Then there was 7 months of hardcore focusing on doing this prototype design and everything. And then we released the game. And then there was the rest. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like a lengthy process, but it seems to be paying off. We do have some more questions from the community. Any possibility of porting some of the positive features from medieval engineers into space engineers, like ropes, furniture, interior walls that aren't 8 feet thick? That's a quote. That's not from me. I don't really know what that means. But yeah, like you guys have this other game we can talk about for a second, Medieval Engineers. And I'm just, so I guess someone's asking, like,
maybe some of those, like maybe sometime in the future,
positive
or
features,
something like that. I would say that our main focus for Space Engineers at this moment is to finish the game, optimize, bug fix, and maybe polish some things, or not maybe, like polish some things, make it more accessible, more intuitive. Like, don't make the game stupid or don't dumb down the game, but make it more accessible. So people will still be able to do the same kind of stuff they are able to do in the game. Just the limitations or the complexity of what they need to do, or like the annoying part, should be much smaller. And so this is our main objective for Space Engineers. It's not really adding new features, because we really need to be careful about this. And I'm quite happy with how the team is managing this side of the development at this moment, like this feature creep versus focusing on relevant things, focusing on polishing. So I think I'm really happy with this. But since Space Engineers as a game and as a concept, and also the team proved to be successful on what they are doing, I think that the future of Space Engineers, maybe like there is more years in the future of Space Engineers that there is actually behind us, if you know what I mean. Like the game and the concept and this genre that we kind of like invented can go for years, like tens of years or maybe millions of years. And the last 3.5 years that, is the history of Space Engineers, will be a small fraction of this time that is in front of us.
One of the things I can just say that I know that we are working on is it's redesign the HUD to make that more intuitive to new players, because when you first load up Space Engineers, it can be very overwhelming for new players. And the HUD is one of the things that we're looking at doing. So it tells you really the most relevant information on the screen, and that's something that's being concepted at the moment.
And you guys did, from what Alex told me, you guys just added a tutorial, and I was playing through it on the video yesterday. That's those missions, those missions that kind of guide you through. So that explained the HUD fairly well, at least to me. So that is nice. I did want to ask about that too, like, because those seem nicely scripted with nice goals and everything. And Jim, who's in the chat room, couldn't join us, but he's in the chat room, brings up an interesting thing. Is there going to be any kind of are you going to be able to add missions or add quests? Is it going to be completely open, or are there going to be things to do in the game?
We're looking at the moment also at redesigning the starting scenarios and bringing them up to scratch. And I can't say too much about it, but we are looking into putting more goals and into survival. It's something that it's not like We don't know if it will definitely come, but it's areas that we're looking into, and we're trying to improve the survival experience for sure. That is something that we are, I guess, concepting and looking at right now. Yeah.
But Joel, I think it's possible to mod the missions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So people can mod the missions, create their own missions, and if not right now, but I think it should work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the guys are going to update the guides.
Yeah, all the guides and
the guidelines for how to do this. So that should also help this process.
Yeah, that's something I'm very interested in. Like, you can basically design your own campaigns, more or less. I experimented a little bit with that, and there are some on the workshop. So somebody recreated the Martian scenario, for example, and it works really well. So you can basically, like, this is what I'm very interested in, that you theoretically in the future can make your own game in there. That's very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a
and
couple
then the
more.
campaign was. That's right. The campaign was received. The tutorial campaign was received really well. Like, I think we were really happy to see just the amount of positive feedback we got on that. People were really, blown away by the storytelling potential in Space Engineers, and it's just really great to see. And I know our designers were happy with that too.
Okay, we have a couple more questions for the community, for the community. Hey, guys. First off, what are the recommended hardware requirements? I mean, I know you have this on the Steam page, but someone asked this, so I thought I would relay it. Because this gentleman only gets 13 frames per second. I mean, friend, it is early access, so it's not fully optimized yet, let's be honest. But yeah, do you guys have like if you were building a rig to play this game, what would you put in it?
Joel, maybe you can answer.
Well, that's a hard one, because if I was building a rig right now, I would build it to to the max. But if you're talking on a budget and trying to run it the best, but at a reasonable cost, I would probably build a 1070 in there, and an i7 as well. Just an i7. This is for recommended, I mean, i5s are fine as well and lower. But if I was building a system today, it would probably be, I guess, one of those new Broadwells are just coming out, and we yet to see about. I mean, AMD then this year could be their year, but at the moment, like today, it would probably be i7 and 1070.
That sounds reasonable. Okay, and another question. This says specifically for Merrick, but I guess either of you guys can answer. How does your idea of the future of multiplayers in Space Engineers look? How many players should be supported, and how will it look like in your idea? That's me reading that verbatim. So I guess the question is, like right now, I guess one of the larger complaints about Space Engineers is multiplayer isn't perfect yet. I mean, you clearly say it's still an alpha on the Steam page. You clearly say it's still a work in progress. But that seems to be one of the issues people have is with syncing and stuff like that. So how is the multiplayer coming along? And what are the next optimizations you could talk about for multiplayer?
Mm-hmm. So regarding multiplayer, there has been a lot of effort and like a big project on our side in last, it started 5 months ago. I made an internal challenge in the team. I offered some money prize to a team that will deliver good multiplayer for Space Engineers. And the result of this was just before the Christmas. And this new multiplayer then got to Space Engineers, and I think it improved the multiplayer experience in Space Engineers a lot. There is probably still some little things they need to fine-tune, but I would say that, at least from my perspective, that as multiplayer used to be the main point for complaining for people, my feeling is that it's not anymore. the biggest issue they have. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more towards performance. Like the multiplayer netcode as like the kind of the foundation, the main framework of it is definitely how do I word this? All I know is that there are more optimizations and tweaks to the multiplayer itself, but mainly to the render and to also improving multi-threading and stuff like that. So it's some of the issues that people are running into today aren't actually necessarily to do with the netcode. It's just the general performance of the game. And so yeah, there will be there's still a good number of optimizations still to come in the coming months. Yeah.
I noticed a lot of improvement in the last couple of updates with the synchronization and stuff.
That's good. That's good to hear.
Sorry. So I'm still waking up. Please forgive me. I'm still. So I noticed because I was playing with the workshop a little bit. It seems like people just love making stuff for your game, and you've made that pretty easy with Steam Workshop integration. So how important was it to get Steam Workshop in there, and was it difficult?
This was actually one of the, and maybe the first update that we made, like first feature update for Space Engineers after the launch in early access. I think the integration was super easy, and it maybe took just a couple of hours. And just the basic integration, like it was possible to upload and download worlds. I'm not talking about modding and things like this. Those we added later. And the reason why we focused on workshop integration was that basically this was our only marketing strategy, or our only marketing strategy was to make a game that is like there's some kind of viral marketing aspect. So which means that people use our game to create something, want to show it to their friend, and this basically increases the pool of people who know about the game and buy the game. Like we didn't want to do paid marketing because we don't know how to do it, and also like we wanted to be developing game and not doing marketing. So we had to hack it somehow, and the way we hacked this or solved this was by making the game as viral as possible. So again, having Steam Workshop was one of the fundamental things that we had to add, and luckily it was enough. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I
because
mean,
it encourages people.
Yeah, I mean, there are YouTube channels dedicated to only show workshop blueprints and stuff like that with thousands of followers. So it really works, I think. The community is very big in that.
Mm-hmm.
It encouraged people to share, because beforehand people were sharing because they were sharing the files and stuff across, just like they were taking it out of their saves and sharing them. But it really did encourage the sharing, and also like people, wanting to, I guess, not be noticed, but on the Steam Workshop, that is, people, there's a couple of guys there's lots of people out there who have a good number of followers in the workshop, and they've become kind of famous within the Space Engineers community for making awesome builds and awesome mods. So yeah, it was definitely a very good decision.
Yeah.
Possibly one of the main, the best decision with the space. It's pretty awesome.
We have someone in the Twitch chat saying that making blueprints is the game for them. Like that is the game. That is how they play the game. Apparently, is making blueprints.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good, because like this was the point for the game, like to create stuff and then test the stuff.
That's why I bought the game. I bought the game because I'd always wanted to build my dream spaceship, for a long time. And when I saw this and I saw you could build your own spaceship, it was just like an instant buy for me. But yeah, that's it. Yeah, for sure. To start with, it really was just about building whatever I wanted to build.
So I guess my personal question is, I don't have the patience to build stuff anymore. I did it one time, like I used to be big into Legos, but now I just want to get in and fly stuff. So for someone like me, how do you make a game like Space Engineers appeal to someone like me who just wants to diddle around with stuff that's already been built?
Sorry, say that one again, man.
Sorry, I don't know if I cut out.
I drifted for a second.
I'm not big into building stuff. I was saying I don't have patience for it anymore. So how do you make a game like Space Engineers appeal to someone like me who just wants to run around and fly stuff or kill stuff or what have you? Like,
well, I'm trying to work out how much I can say.
I get that's a weird question, and I know you guys just had this
it's-
tutorial, but I'm just kind of wondering if and people can create quests and stuff. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, yeah, one of the things is definitely encouraging the campaign, people to create their own campaigns and scenarios. And I think we might be looking at getting our designers to make some multiplayer scenarios. They're nothing crazy, but just something for people to like join and like, fight each other or something like that. Because there is space for people who don't enjoy building, for sure. You can play through a campaign, or you can just load into a scenario with your friends and have ship battles, or even ground battles. So there is definitely space for people who aren't just into building, and it'd be great if we could encourage that more through the use of campaign tools and visual scripting.
Yeah, I just was about to say that's kind of where I see the future for people who don't want to build. So you can basically build a scenario where, I don't know, you make two sides, one the Empire, one the Rebellion, and you have pre-made ships in there and some winning conditions, and then you just play it like any other game, basically.
See, that's where I would want to come in. Is just give me something to kill. That's where my gaming sensibilities seem to be nowadays. I don't want to build crap or crafting. I don't understand crafting. Sorry, I can go on a rant about that for a million years. But I just want to get a gun or get a ship and kill. Just kill. Not really kill. But
Well, there's there tends to be there are players who just like building ships, and so some people aren't into survival at all, and that's fine, because the game. People can happily build their ships and take blueprints, and there's the people who play survival, and they're not so into designing crazy ships, just ships that'll do the job. But no, it would be good if we can find more ways to include people who do just want to go action.
Well, here's kind of
these pre-made scenarios, be that by us or by the community, and maybe we could encourage the use of that by promoting player-made scenarios more so in game. That is, just an idea off the top of my head. Maybe we could do where every month there's a scenario from the workshop that we put into the game by default. Ooh. If you know what I mean. So for like a month, there's someone from the community made it, and it's there, and then the next month we'll choose another one, but everyone will have access to it, and they don't have to like subscribe to anything. So that's just an idea that popped into my head. But yeah, and trying to encourage people to make scenarios, but then once that's there, that also encourages people who are into building and making ships and survival to have some fun.
That brings up kind of an interesting point, because Jason Hartgrave on YouTube said that he thinks you guys should get some sci-fi writers and create custom content. Is there any kind of, and you don't have to go into detail, but is there any kind of like even like simple story mode that'll be part of the default of Space Engineers? Like this tutorial feels kind of something like that, where you kind of have goals to get off the ship and to get to the planet and stuff like that. So is there any kind of story in the universe that's going to be planned for the game, or is it just sandbox, you guys make it, we'll put it in there, that sort of thing?
I think all I'll say is that there's nothing, we've got these ideas going around, and like I said earlier, it was really great to see that the community really did make it clear that they want to see more story-based content in the Space Engineers universe, and it's something for us to think about for sure. And yeah, who knows?
We have another question from the community. Once the game, I guess they're asking, once the game reaches 1.0, are there going to be official multiplayer servers run by you guys?
We are thinking about something like that. Joel, I think we already have some official server, or like
only
at
for
least
testing.
it's testing official server.
But it's more kind of closed. It's not. We don't publicize. Come join the server, but we do have servers, I guess.
Because I remember that we bought, or at least I approved to buy some server couple weeks ago.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be this testing official server.
It's possible that it hasn't gone into operation yet. I don't know. If it's only a couple of weeks ago, that might not be there yet. But I didn't know about that. That's cool.
But the idea was to have at least one official server that is maintained by us, so people know. But of course,
and public as well.
It should be public. But of course, you can have only certain amount of people on that server, so it will be a limited thing. But the thing is that you should have some kind of guarantees of the quality of the gameplay there, and also the performance, that there will not be floating debris or so something along those lines.
Yeah, I think it was something we were kind of waiting. We were kind of waiting for the game to get into a better position where the servers, in some ways, need less maintaining, because the servers, depending on how many people are playing and how big it is, dedicated servers can require a fair bit of maintenance. But it's definitely something we've wanted to do for the community. And because it was about that, it was being able to have servers where people could come and play and have assured, have a good time. That was and good performance and stuff. Yeah.
So there's been a lot of talk about multiplayer, which I know people love, but I'm much more of a single player type of guy. So is there like, I haven't, I'll be honest, I haven't played enough to notice this, but is there any AI in the game, or can AI things be added so you could have like a single player battle, or is that something that's in the works? I mean, I apologize if this is very evident to people who've played the game more than I have, but I'm just curious about that, because again, there's a lot of talk of multiplayer. So I wanted to just chime in from a single player friends.
Okay. Well, there is for the campaign, we redid our drone AI, and if you play through the campaign, you'll notice that there are drones, and they're not using sensors and stuff. They are using like AI, and they can navigate waypoints, and they can even fight each other. They can choose targets, and I know like that is something that I spoke to some guy the other day, and he was telling me about this thing that they'll be able to. People who create missions will be able to set how long drones fire weapons for. So if you want to balance a mission, it could like burst. It could fire like 2 rockets and then like 10 seconds of Gatling and then stop again. So this will all be configurable by mission creators. But yeah, mission creators can use the drone AI, the same stuff that we've used in the campaign, the tutorial campaign. That is.
I have a follow-up question to that, because I'm not quite sure on that, but I think you guys also have like a company that with that evolves around AI. If I'm not,
this is a question for Marek.
It's called Good AI, and
exactly.
At this moment, it's not like a company that really makes a business. It's more like a research and development institute, basically, where we are trying to develop general artificial intelligence. So it's a long-term thing. And there is a sister company called Good AI Business, but doing some business. But the main thing is this Good AI, where we are trying to develop or research and develop the general AI, and it's some kind of core research, so, and it's long-term. So because we are really going after the human level artificial intelligence, so it will take some time, and at this moment it would not be practical to try to use some of the prototypes that we have in our games, because basically the type of problems or the skills that our AI has will not be enough to make funny or entertaining opponents in the game. It will not be funny to train them and so on. So first we need to develop some better AI algorithms and train them on something useful, and then maybe they can be integrated in some games.
Gotcha.
So we have a question from our co-host who's in the chat. I'm going to build upon it. He was asking if you guys have seen Dual Universe and what your thoughts about that are. But do you guys also keep tabs on other similar projects to yours and see what they're doing? Like, damn it, we should have had that idea and stuff like that. Are you guys too busy with your own thing to even bother keeping track of anyone else?
I think we usually know about some like a new player in this field, and I have noticed the Dual Universe. I like the videos that they make. I think they are very good at presenting what is in their game. On the other side, when I look on all these kind of competitors, I don't think they have, or they are like close to the amount of engineering and physical features that we have in our game. And like some games may be better in some slight small area, but then they don't have the planets, they don't have the traveling, they don't have such complexity in the engineering part and so on. And so I still think that we don't need to be looking on our games and trying to clone or steal their ideas, because we prefer to be the leaders in this, like to be implementing our own ideas and showing the others where they can go, so then they can clone us after 2 years. But yeah, again, like we prefer to be the leaders, and not the followers.
Oh, that's totally fair. I wasn't suggesting you were going to be followers. I was just curious if you guys pay attention, because it's kind of interesting. Like in the space in general. Like when I started the blog in 2011, there was like nothing coming out, and now there's a billion
Suddenly,
things.
bam, yeah.
Now there's a billion. I mean, it's wonderful. It's a great time to be a space gamer, but holy crap. How are we supposed to keep track of everything? I
think there's more to come. I think in this year 2017. You think back with the kind of zombie survival game craze there was 2 or 3 years ago now.
Oh, God, yeah.
With DayZ, when was that? 2012. I lose track of it when that DayZ mod kind of kickstarted loads of stuff. I feel like this year we'll probably see another couple of games similar in style to Space Engineers, and that. Well, it wouldn't surprise me. I don't know for sure, but it wouldn't surprise me. There's still some more. There's still plenty more life in that area, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. I mean, to see not only like, it's kind of interesting too, because your game has kind of grown along with the genre in the last few years. Like it really kind of kickstarted. I didn't really mean to use that word, but it kind of kickstarted with Starsis, and I shouldn't even mention that name. But back in 2012, and then you guys hit in 2013, and then since then it's just been like ballooning. It's kind of fascinating to watch the industry, this genre especially, just. So I did want to ask something similar along those lines. With more and more games coming out, like I don't know if you saw, but there was an article that said that about 6,000 games came out on Steam last year, which is more than like I think all the previous years combined. So with that much, and it's not all direct competition, but it's competition for the eyes, for visibility. How do you try and maintain discoverability with all that other flotsam and jetsam going on around you?
Mm-hmm. I think the only answer is to always be trying to make the best game, and I think this is the only thing that we can do. And many of these games, like of these 6,000 games, I think most of them are like
crap.
I don't want to be.
Most of them are crap. Most of them are like visual novels and mobile ports and just a bunch of garbage. Yeah, no. I am not afraid
to how many games you bought this year.
Stuff like that.
I probably bought fewer games this year than I have in any year, because there's just I already own so much shit. I just, you know what I mean?
And yeah, I think the sales of Space Engineers are more or less stable over the years, and so it looks like there is also like a constant stream of new players, new customers coming to Steam, coming to PC. So that's also a good thing. And there is also from time to time a new game, completely new game that really gets a lot of visibility. Like for example, a couple of weeks or a month ago, there was this Astroneer, which is in my opinion very popular. So you can always have a game, like a new game, that will come and will just take people's attention. It's not like it's too overcrowded. I think it's always like if you have a good game, let's say a unique game, you still get can make money and be visible. So I think it's okay. Like it's okay.
Well, we have another question from the community, and again, folks, I appreciate you asking all these questions in the chats, the various. I'm monitoring like 3 different chat rooms, but I appreciate you all asking all these questions in chats. It helps because I'm not super knowledgeable on the game, so thank you. Will there be hunger and thirst in the game at all? I guess they mean the survival mode. Is that something that you have any intention to implement?
Sorry. What question?
If you can't say right now, just
food.
Yeah, if you can't say, you can't say. I mean, I get that. If there's something, if it's something you just can't talk about, that's fine. But I did want to throw the question out there since someone was nice enough to ask it.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah. Yeah, it's probably best if I don't say anything about that now. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Totally fair. Totally fair. I mean, you guys are in flux. It's still in early access. Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. You don't want to say, "Oh yeah, we're totally gonna do that," and then you don't do it. And people are like, "You said you were gonna do it." So
this is it's definitely true because there's so many things that get concepted and looked at, but in the end it doesn't work out for whatever reason. And there's been a couple of examples in the past that we've said do some things, but for whatever reason it didn't work out, or we came up with something slightly different, or maybe in our eyes better, but other certain people looked at it and thought, "Oh, we preferred it the way you said you were going to do it," or something like that. So this is again coming back to the early access thing. One of the disadvantages of being so open about it is there's a lot of opinions, and it's kind of impossible to please everybody. But yeah, so we have to be careful about like what we say when we're not 100% on stuff.
Just do your next game behind closed doors, because I was going to say earlier, it's actually refreshing when a game just comes out these days. You know what I mean? Like no early access. It's just, oh, it's out. That's so quaint. That's adorable.
Yeah, I think in some ways it's shifting towards that again. I feel like some people, there's a couple of games. I mean, some of the games, I think even Astroneer is it on early access, Astroneer? Or is it come out as a full release? I can't remember.
I don't remember either. I'll look.
But there's been a couple of games that have just kind of popped out suddenly, and they're very playable. And I think, like I say, it has been for some, been a breath of fresh air. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if the trend went back in that. I mean, I love early access. I love seeing how the sausage is made, but I think some games have done damage to the early access model. Like, what was that one? Space DF9 from.
It was the Stomping Land was one of the first ones to like completely be cancelled.
Oh yeah, right, that one. People.
And since then, there's been a fair number of I guess failed attempts, and it always ends quite messy. Yeah,
because I think it kind of goes back to what you guys were saying earlier. It's not just setting player expectations; it's setting your own. And if you're like, if I put it in early access, I'll get all the money now, and I could just work on development later. No, that's no.
So No Man's Sky was released as a full game, right?
Oh
Yeah,
yes,
yes,
it was. Oh no.
It was.
Oh no.
Maybe it would have been. I don't know for them if it would have been better if they released early access.
I think it might have been. I think
because then people would have been like, "Oh, at least there'll be more stuff." And this most recent update, the one with the base building, has definitely brought back quite a lot. Like I think they were on like mostly negative reviews, and I believe now it's like shifted up quite a fair bit on the review side. Now the base building's in. So they could not, I mean, they'll never be able to live up to what they were expected to be, but I feel like if they produce some good content patches in the next year, I think they can definitely regain some ground. But as like I say, if they actually release early access, it might have put people, well, yeah, but they couldn't have asked for $60 early access though, could they? That's the other thing. Probably not.
Yeah, that $60 early access is a tough sell. Astroneer is in early access. I just checked. So we do have some more questions from the community. I'm not sure how to read this one. Would it be possible to add in-game metadata to the 50 meters asteroid hit? I guess they're asking for some kind of in-game logging. Like some kind of thing, some kind of rotating display of a log of like all the damage and blah 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 that each individual. I think that's what they're asking.
Well, some things are already stored; they're just not shown to the player. And there's certain scripts that expose these this information. And I don't know about that specific one, but there's definitely a lot of information can be taken from in the programmable block and displayed on LCDs. And you say that you haven't played the game that much, but the more you look into it, the more you'll see all the crazy stuff that scripters have done with the game. So I don't understand the full question, but
I don't
it's possible
either.
that
I don't either.
What he wants could be already possible.
Yeah, I don't either. I was just kind of reading it to you. We got some more. Are there any chance for weather systems on planets?
Again, it's quite a tough question.
Yeah, that would be hard. I mean, there's already so much going on in the game. That'd probably be a tough thing to add on top of everything else, I would think.
I mean, really, all our programmers now are like really focused on bug fixing and making the game that's there now more enjoyable and more playable and more reliable. And because there's still, a fair number of people out there who are having issues with the game. So it's trying to get this core game to work for everybody, as many people as possible who have a good system, decent system. That is, so it's kind of hard with these bigger questions because everyone's pretty busy at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure.
I would have
go ahead.
If you my a question that I have to explain a little bit, but like what I and my friends used to do in the game, and maybe we are abusing the engine a little bit with that, but what we like to do is basically play on a dedicated server and make it like our poor man's MMO, basically. So we had once a game with almost 20 players in there, and they lived around the world, so they were not on simultaneously, but we had like different factions and wars going on, and factions that were bounty hunters and trading stuff. And surprisingly, it works very well for that, to a point. I mean, if you have too many players, too much stuff going on, at some point it gets glitchy. But it works surprisingly well. And I wanted to ask about your long-term vision, like when the game is released. What do you think? How many people can do stuff like that? Like for how many players would it be possible to be in a session? And
in a session, it's a tough one. I think in a sense it would always be dependent on the server configuration and the server hardware. And still, we're trying to optimize as best as possible and to try and remove any kind of bottleneck, as many bottlenecks as possible from the software side. So it means that, if you've, in a couple of years' time, when there's even more powerful servers that are more affordable as well, people will be able to have more people and further away and bigger worlds and stuff. So that's, I guess, in terms of a number, it's kind of hard to give a number, actually, how many players, because it is a lot of it quite dependent on the server and the network specifications.
Mm-hmm. And like a little follow-up to that is, like if you play on a dedicated server, which is online 24/7, and so you have to sleep at some point, and if you have different factions going on and stuff, so do you plan anything for, I don't know, to protect your buildings while you're gone, stuff like that? You know what I mean? Any systems?
I know. I don't know if that's something. I don't think that's something we've really thought about too much, because ideally, if you've got a base, I guess it's about hiding it and not having an antenna, or setting up defenses, or even having allies who can defend them when you're offline. In terms of offline protection, it's a good question, actually. But I'm not sure what designers think about that, actually.
Yeah. So at the moment, hiding would be the game you have to play when we do
hiding and fortifying your bases.
Yeah. So in one game, we had actually a faction of players who specialized in trading, because the other factions hid their bases, so this third faction could trade between them and stuff like that. That was kind of interesting. And actually, one of my I have to admit that one of my coolest gaming experiences in my life, I think. This one game we played with 20 people was very engaging, and because everything was hand built by everyone, and it was, but almost like a normal game where you have stuff going on, really, and really interesting.
That sounds great. Sounds like you've had some really good experiences on dedicated servers, having wars and all kinds of stuff. Yeah,
I mean, there are glitches and stuff like that too, if too many players are online and stuff. But for the most part, it worked.
Yeah, that's good. Good to hear.
All right, some more questions from the chat. We got like 4 in the queue right now. I don't know how you would. Okay, any chance of female space engineers? I don't know how you would tell one way or another under the spacesuit, but that I don't know. I mean,
well, the reason is now because you can, if you press J, you can actually up your visor so you can see it's the.
Oh.
Yes, that's why. It's the main reason why that's it's come about, because suddenly people. Well, it was a while ago now we added that function. It used to be the helmet off, and now it was the visor. But I think it was when the question started to arise, actually. It's definitely it's because it was also in medieval engineers. There's a female astronaut, and it was another reason why people have more recently been asking for it. And I don't know if Marek has any input on that. I don't know.
No, I think you covered this.
Okay. It's again, the moment we've still got some underlying. There's the artists are fixing some issues with the models, and it's a possibility for sure.
That's good. Another question from Jim: when a player creates a structure, does the game continue to track each individual block positionally, or they group attach blocks into a unit, like make multiple units into one larger unit, so it's easier to render and move and whatnot?
Yeah, so the game is already doing this. Of course, they are kept in some memory structures separate, and then there are some other memory structures where blocks and things are merged together. And there is at this moment a work in our renderer team who is actually improving this merging even much more. And if people are interested, they can go to my blog. It's blog.maregrossa.org. And about 2 months ago, there was a blog post where we talk about our plans of render performance optimizations. And so there is more details on this topic. But basically, we are doing this, and we are also improving this process of merging similar blocks that actually can be merged together, and then rendering them in one render draw call instead of many render draw calls. It also depends on the type of the block, because it's one thing to do this for the armor, and then it's other thing to do this for like antennas, doors, and all these little other things. And then also it's different thing to do this for voxels or trees and so on. So there is a lot of work on this as well, because this can be one of the biggest performance gains that we can get fast. And then there is also another thing which is called occlusion culling, and this is these merged bigger objects, or like bigger pieces of objects, testing whether they are actually visible or not. And if they are not visible, like if there is not some occluder in front of them, or occludee, I forgot, then not rendering them. So this is another performance gain that we can get.
Okay. Oh, wait. Sorry, hang on. I had a question that I lost it. Here it is. This is from Jason in YouTube. Are there any plans to integrate augmented reality devices like HoloSync or Magic Leap?
Or VR for that matter, maybe.
Yeah, I guess that's a bigger question. Is there any like external device support, like for VR or AR coming soon?
So
Or at all?
regarding AR, there is none. And regarding VR, we had one prototype for for HTC Vive, and but this project is on hold for this moment, because when you are doing VR, you need to maintain high FPS, and if I remember correctly, it's like 90 FPS, or you need to deliver 90 FPS, and for each eye, so that's basically 180 FPS, and if you don't do this, then it's not just like laggy game, but it's actually the person playing the game feels sick. Yeah. So it's much bigger problem than just when you are playing it on normal monitor. And so for these reasons, especially if we are not able to maintain constant frame rate, which in our game is impossible in all situations, because people can always build something crazy and then just smash this thing to the planet or something like this, and there will be a lag, it's impossible to do it without lag, then it's a problem. So plus the other thing is practical thing, that there is a lot of people who have VR devices, but it's still not a mass market. So the business viability of this is little. So we tried to do this like a hobby project or like a funny project or something like this, but it was too much complicated to actually keep going forward with this. I think we will get to this sometime later in the future, but it's not one of the priorities that we are focusing on right now.
Yeah.
No, that's totally fair, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting tired of seeing all these VR games coming out on Steam. It's like not a lot.
I can tell you one thing, that actually in the prototype, you could walk on the platform in Space Engineers. You could see the small ship from close distance, and it was a nice experience. And when people played with this prototype here, it was like a little bit glitchy, but it kind of worked well. Like there were not basically any significant glitches. What was interesting was that you could feel the size of all these ships, even small ships, because when you have this on a normal monitor, that's one thing, but if you are in VR with the field of view and everything, and you see it, it's a different thing. So it's a new experience for people. That's for sure. It's like all people who like space engineers, and if they get to experience space engineers in VR, I think it's it's probably not going to change their life or the way they play the game, but it's a totally new experience.
It really was. Like, I mean, I was lucky enough to have to try it on me using it, and I'm going to share this link here. And this is when we, in fact, did it. It was a bit glitchy, but being able to see these ships in VR, it was amazing. And or sat in your ship and being able to look around, it really was a cool experience. So hold up a minute, I'm going to share this, but trying to maintain that frame rate is difficult. And for us, I mean, the render improvements Marek was just talking about, they'll help quite significantly, some of them. But also hardware that you need to run it at this will also become more affordable. So more people will be inclined to get, VR probably. And yeah, that's that.
Yeah, exactly. So I hate to say this, but I got to start wrapping up because I got to get to work. So I just have a couple final questions. Unless, Alex, you have any before we wrap up.
We'll go on.
What would you say are some of the big to-dos on your to-do list coming up in the next maybe update or two that people can look forward to over the coming months?
The new HUD is one of them. I'm pretty confident that will make a significant change for everyone, both old players and new, because it won't be cluttered, it'll be more intuitive, and it will just look cleaner. And because the new blocks are being redone and they look great and they're high quality. So now the HUD will hopefully be one that also matches that. So that's one of the things relatively soon. No date, of course, but not too far. And also improvements to survival gameplay. And I can't say what exactly those will be yet, but we are looking at making the experience better. So, yeah.
I'm sure people will look forward to that because people love survival in games. People love survival mode. I don't get it. I survive every day in real life. I don't want to do it in a video game too. I just want to kill things, like I said. But yeah, people love worrying about food in a game. I don't get it, but all right. And my final question, I try to ask this of everyone. Besides your game, what are you guys playing right now, if anything?
Joe, you can answer.
Okay, myself, I play quite a fair amount of Star Citizen and Kerbal Space Program. I love me some space games, so that's what
Good
kind of
answers.
stuff I play.
Good answers.
And also, I guess in the last couple months, Dreadnought as well. That was a lot of fun as well. So they're probably the main ones. There's probably a couple of us in there a little bit, but they're the main ones that I play aside from our games. Yeah.
So for me, I don't play many games these days, and so let me think what I played in last year. I think the new Wolfenstein.
Oh, I heard those are excellent. I heard those are really good.
Then I played the Doom for maybe 1 or 2 or 3 hours. Then what else? I would like to play Far Cry Primal. And and also I played a game called Inside. Yeah, and actually I like this very much. It's like a 2D kind of 3D game. It's from the creators of Limbo, if you know the game. It's like some kind of depressive setting. And that was very nice, and that was like nice story, and it was quite simple to play. So like there were not some kind of deadlocks or something like that for me. But yeah, I don't have that much time to play games. That's the problem.
That's fair. That's totally fair. Alex, what about you? We'll end with you. What are you playing lately, if anything? Besides this, clearly.
Me, what I'm playing. I mean, you know what I'm playing. I'm playing Warframe all day long, of course.
Yeah, a lot of Warframe. And you just got me into that recently, so thank you.
I'm playing Dragon Age Inquisition. I finally got that. It's actually quite more interesting than I thought. And I started Subnautica again yesterday.
This game, like about Space Hulk, right? That came in like a month ago.
Yeah, I bought that and then I gave it back.
Yeah, I also bought the game, played it for 1 or 2 hours, because I like I don't remember the name of the game, but it's like this Space Hulk, Inquisitor, Warhammer, something like this, with these big eyes and like, yeah, I played it for some time and
Deathwing? Space Hulk Deathwing?
Yeah, could be that. Yeah, so yeah, that was interesting, but mostly I like the trailers, because it all looks very mysterious and like you want to learn like what is it about. The actual game was shooting, like as you could expect. But what I like, for example, like are the little things that when there are doors and you can either open the doors or you can just like kick them off or something like that, So yeah,
cool.
So this was interesting game for me as well from the recent games.
And then again, the game that's I guess we've talked about, mentioned briefly tonight, but that today it's not tonight. This morning. Whatever it is for us, but is Astroneer. I do want to check Astroneer out. I've heard from our community, a lot of people are raving about it and saying that it is, in fact, very good. And even though it is early access, it does seem very promising. So that's something that I want to check out in the next couple of weeks, hopefully.
Yeah, that does look pretty great. But yeah, unless I'm sorry, I'm losing my mind. It's still early for me. So let's wrap it up here because I do have to get to work. I'm sorry, guys. But Marek, Joel, and Alex, I want to thank you guys for taking the time out of it's afternoon for you guys. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your afternoons to, talk about Space Engineers. Folks, just a couple of programming notes real quick before we wrap up. Thursday, we're going to be playing Warhammer 40k Eternal Crusade, which Jim has been bugging me to play for ages now, so that's going to be fun. And then next Tuesday on the podcast, we're back at the regular time for a show I'm super excited about. We got the guy who wrote and created the 1994 space combat amazingness game Star Crusader. I tracked him down. Getting the folks who worked on these old games is hard. But this guy was easy. So yeah, we're going to be talking Star Crusader next week on the show, which I'm super excited about because that game is way better than I thought it was. So yeah, folks, thank you so much for listening to the show. Marek, Joel, and Alex, again, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. And I want to wish you all a great day, folks. Thanks for listening and watching. Bye-bye.
You too. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
See you guys.
My pleasure. Our pleasure.